There are so many things you have to do when it comes to religion and spirituality. You may have to go to church every week, pray multiple times a day, wear certain types of clothes, and even diet restrictions. But what is the correct way to follow? Does anyone know exactly what to do? Or are they just listening to what someone told them to do? I do believe you should respect everyone's beliefs regardless of what yours are. I want to look into what everyone believes and compare our experiences. This is About My Issue.
I forgot the words.
In the words of the Gap Band, you all look outstanding.
This one always has an oldie in its head.
And you know it.
So what's on your mind today?
Man, a topic that has so many layers.
Like?
Religion versus spirituality.
Woo! We're gonna be talking for hours, y'all.
Right. So let's get to it. So, growing up in church, growing up, my mom always made sure that we went to church. Like, there was not a Sunday night, Wednesday night that we missed. Like, she did not play when it came to church. Anything short of the rapture, we were not missing church. Okay? So, like, I just wonder, like, did y'all have similar upbringings? How was church for y'all growing up?
Yeah, my mom raised my sister and I to go to church every Sunday, but to also be involved in the church. So she would have us pick a ministry, to serve.
Right.
For my sister, it was singing, then it was me singing, and then we eventually got into media.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very important to her. So.
I also grew up going to church every week.
Gotcha.
And like on Wednesdays too.
I also want y'all to be like a bit more specific, because like the church that I went to was like non-denominational. So did y'all go to?
Yeah.
It was too?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And also a Baptist church before too.
A Baptist church as
Yeah.
well? Yeah. So someone did they influenced the way that you saw like religion, I guess you could say, in a sense. Like, did it almost feel like a chore? You feel like, man, I'm supposed to go, or it's only right that we go, or?
It didn't feel like a chore for me. I think one of the beautiful parts of my upbringing was while we went to church, it wasn't an every Sunday, and then you're going to Bible study on Wednesday, and you're in church 4 days out of the week. When I lived on the West Coast, growing up around different groups of people, I had friends that were Buddhist, I had friends that were Jewish. So just knowing that there was other things out there was pretty cool. But then having like a sense of connection to the church we were going to was really nice, but didn't feel like it was a chore to go just because we weren't going round the clock multiple days a week.
I got you. Nigel, what about you, bro? How did you feel?
Well, I can't really say too much because in my upbringing, like, we did go to church, but it wasn't, every Sunday.
It's like every blue moon.
Every blue moon.
Easter.
Yeah. No, not even Easter.
Not even
It
Easter.
was just because my mom worked a lot. She was a single mother to kind of support me and my brother. And every Sunday we couldn't go because she had to work.
Yeah.
So I don't really have that, Christian upbringing that most black families have.
Sure.
So this is really something that I can't speak on
I got
like
you.
that.
Okay.
So.
I feel you. What about you, Brittany? You look like a wholesome church girl.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely grew up in a Christian household, church every Sunday. You can't stay in my mama's house without going to church. And honestly, back then as a child, it felt like it was a chore. It did, because you had to go. But the older I get, I'm more appreciative of it. I see that I have different morals than a lot of my friends who may have not gone to church, or not saying that everyone who doesn't go, but it did play a big role in my life.
Okay. I feel you. What do y'all think about spirituality as opposed to religion? Do you feel like there's a difference?
I think that spirituality sets you free, while religion keeps you in a box.
I gotta sip on that one. Yeah, that was
I kind of like that.
That's how I think of it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it, because I do feel like regardless of the religion, you have to like really pay attention, because there's so many like rules.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I remember when I was in college, I worked at a Home Depot, and I worked with this guy. His name was Musa. I haven't spoken to him in forever. but he was Muslim. And sometimes we like finish a task outside and he'll be like, I'll be right back, man. I'll be right back. I'll be like, okay, bro, like, did I say something? Like, you know what I'm saying? Where you going? And so he'd be gone for a good 10 to 15 minutes. I'd always think, like, where is this man going?
Was he going to pray?
Bruh.
Yeah.
And so we had literally a certain upstairs room that nobody really went to. And one time I just was being nosy and following where he was going. And he laid out his whole rug or whatever it was, man, and sat down and prayed and stuff like that. And that's a certain rule you have to follow. But the thing that was so important about that was that I should have been picking up on stuff like that. Because my attitude before I even came into work was, don't ask me to do nothing. Don't get on my nerves. We ain't finna do this. But he prayed so many times, and one time just shared with me, he was like, that's how I keep balance. That's how I stay cool the whole shift, regardless of what a supervisor say, regardless of what a customer may say. So I feel like it's certain things that you can pick up on with certain religions, even if you don't completely follow it. You know what I mean? Because I know one thing about our generation and the one behind us is we don't like rules. Especially one behind it. We do not, I'm telling you, people do not like rules. What you mean? I got to eat this, I can't drink that.
Can't do this.
You know what I'm saying? I can't smoke that, I can't wear this. I gotta be in church during this time and that time. Like, it's a whole lot of rules.
Right.
Yeah. How y'all feel about like spiritual? Like, do you follow still Christianity, bro, or like?
So, you know, outside of my upbringing, of course, I was raised as a Christian man, right? But as I've grown into my adulthood and just my individualism, I've grown to understand who God is for me, and I feel like, for me, God is the people and all living things. So we're all connected. We are the higher power when we work together, right? And thinking about things like that, it's like, cool, shit. Well, that just means that how I treat myself is how I treat you, you know, and that's respect. And those are things you can learn from religion, right? Sure. I learned a lot from Christianity that I was able to apply to being just a decent human being. But taking that understanding and reanalyzing, okay, like what's real and what's fake, what's being pushed and, you know, what's, you know, being received.
Sure.
But yeah, anybody want to add anything to that? Like, does anybody resonate with learning one thing growing up and then kind of switching the switch in your head, like, okay, well, shit, yeah, it makes sense, but there are things that don't make sense too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to what you got to say.
For me, I grew up not having religion pushed or forced, at least from my immediate family, more specifically my mom. She was like, you know, believe what's going to be good for you. So even though we went to church, I was raised Christian, there was still a little bit of Buddhist undertones in how we were raised, in the sense of, are you a good person? Do you treat people with kindness, with respect? At the end of the day, are you giving back the way that things are being given to you? So things that may be said in Christian teachings, whether it's in Sunday school as a kid or, you know, in sermon, I think explicitly those things that may not have been explicit in the Christian church were being taught. And so for me, it's been more spiritual than anything. I still go to church. I don't read the Bible. Like, I'm not someone that like is against it. So scripture, you know, the little daily Bible app, all the things. Sure. But for me, it's not so much about like old teachings, because I'm here. It's 2020. What are we in, 2023?
Right. Had to think about it.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what year am I in? But yeah, for me, it's more important about, am I a good person? Am I treating people with respect? And do I like myself as a person? Because sometimes people hide behind religion and they do these awful things, but they use, you know, the Bible, or they use their higher power, in this case for me, God, exactly, to justify that they're wrongdoings. And so for me, it's more important about how I feel about myself and how I'm treating everyone, especially when growing up in the Christian faith. Certain groups of people the expectation was you're supposed to treat them differently, but I don't agree to that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Squeeze, you got something to add, bro?
Yeah, I just feel like the religion the religions that are placed upon us, a lot of the times, this man's trying to drink my drink. A lot of the times people take that and are extremists in different aspects of it. So you could be Jewish, I could be Catholic, but because of my belief systems, I feel like I can't learn anything from you. And I feel like it's backwards. Like, that's not how it should be. Just through the interconnectedness of us being people, experiencing life, you know, in different aspects, but we're all doing it together at the same time. We need to be exchanging information. You have something that I don't. Right? So in order to learn, I might be able to learn through you. And hiding behind religion and saying, oh, well, you follow that, so
I can't listen to you.
you know what I mean?
Or don't want to.
You know, exactly.
Yeah,
It's like,
closed-minded.
I think a lot of people are closed-minded.
Yeah, I don't
especially
like how
our
people.
parents.
Yeah, that's true. I don't like how people can become so judgmental of regardless of what they're in, albeit spirituality or religion. Because some things I hear people who are strictly Christian and follow those teachings are spirituality. Ooh, that's voodoo. That's, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think a lot of movies or TV shows have only shown one side of spirituality, and it's always either in a negative light, such as you putting a hex on somebody, or I'm reading from a spell book, or candle work, or stuff like that. Right, and just not even understanding. But on the flip side, people who are spiritual and feel like I'm woke and know all. You got the bad.
And it's so interesting because a lot of that stuff do the same thing. Like, we, as Christians, rituals all day long. Like eating of the bread, drinking of
Communion.
the cup.
Communion, yeah.
You got you know, a menorah. You light the menorah. Those are candles. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing all these rituals, but then these other groups of people doing rituals that satisfy what they need, it's like, you're not doing it how I do it, so I'm looking at you some type of way.
Yeah. Nigel, what did you think about that, bro? The way that spirituality or religion has been portrayed, like in media, you know what I'm saying?
Honestly, I don't really pay attention to all that. Only because I won't say that I agree or I don't disagree. It's just I've never been interested in anything like that. Like, as far as spiritually, I've never been around an environment where I've met someone spiritually.
Let me, my bad. I'm gonna chime in. Let me ask you this. Some a bit personal, because we used to, I don't know if you ever did with me, but the Passion Conference that we used to have at the stadium, did you attend any of those or work any of those?
Yeah, I worked on, but
yeah, but you ain't never, you was heads down, but nobody ever tried to bother you about.
I mean, they tried to, and they always, before I could even, get a word out, they'll push whatever they're trying to push on me, and I'm like, hey, I'm just working here.
I'm just right. I do security.
Right, and there's like, okay, we understand it, but you know what? Let's connect. Give me your number. Give me your Facebook and something. And I made the mistake of giving somebody my number, and for some reason after that, maybe a whole month, I was getting these scriptures and words of the day and stuff like that. And I'm like,
bro, what is this? Right.
It's not that I'm hating you for doing this. It's just at least ask or go more into it before you just randomly start sending stuff.
Yeah, I feel you.
Now, what religion was that? Because I honestly feel like some religions are more pushy than others. Like, my grandmother, she was a Jehovah's Witness. Yeah, so that's a big difference from what my mother taught me and what my grandmother believed. And, for her, I think the difference between spirituality and religion is, like she said, not putting yourself in that box. But if you are in that box, where do you think you're going to go after life? I think that's the main question, because spirituality is more like how you treat people, how you feel about people, the actions, the decisions that you make. But religion is really like, where are you going to go when you leave this earth? Where's your soul and your body going to be? And that has a lot to do with faith,
Let me ask you this. Since you said you have that comparison between your mother and your grandmother, how do you teach your children?
Well, it's really...
I know they may still be young, but at the same time...
My children are Christian, you know, they go to a Baptist church. We all go to a Baptist church. And I'm not even going to lie. Sometimes you have that thought in the back of your head, like, I hope that things aren't the way you think it is in your religion, because there's going to be some people that are going to be left behind.
Let me ask this though: when you
never
say
gonna
Baptist,
see.
is it like that old Baptist, like
It's not like
they doing that?
no, it's not. Like, what Baptist are you talking about?
Like, certain people's
I think you're
Baptist
talking
churches
about
going
Mormons or
up.
something.
No, that's Baptist, ain't it? Squeeze like an old
Mormons, you
Baptist.
can't get your ears pierced.
They be like,
oh, that's like Mormons.
Yeah.
Like the
that is
Baptist.
not Mormons.
It is. Like,
That's
you can't
still
get
Baptist
your
too.
ears pierced, and you can't. No, we can do all of that.
I didn't say you couldn't do none of that. I was just one of the type that you go
Yeah,
to.
well, I wouldn't say I wear that type.
Yeah.
For Baptist.
Okay, so I don't necessarily, you know what I'm saying, have children. At least that I don't know.
I'm in that boat with you.
Right. But either way, like, I don't know if you all do want to be parents one day, but what type of upbringing do you think that you have with your children?
So it's interesting because I've had these conversations in the more recent past. To be honest, I don't know, because I know what works for me, and I know that at the end of the day, all I can guarantee is how I am being in the present physical moment. While I was raised to believe that if you follow the Bible to a T and follow God's word, then you will get into the gates of heaven. But I can't help but question, is that there? Like, when I leave this physical earth, whenever that time comes, because we all have an expiration date, is that going to be there? And I don't want to sell something to my future children for whenever that time comes. God willing, I have children. I don't want to sell them something, but I also want to teach them the same way I was raised, to question things, have a healthy level of skepticism, and follow a path that feels good. And so I don't know if that, I might switch up and be like, oh, going right back to my childhood, taking it a step further. How when I go to church with my grandmother, Southern Baptist, in church for like 3-4 hours on Sunday, like, am I going to revert back to that, or am I going to hold true to how I am? So honestly, I don't know. I do know that I want my children to have some sort of understanding that they are connected. It's not just them, and I think that's at the root of religion and faith, is that you are you, but you are connected, and you are in a way responsible for other people in the way in which you act and do with the earth and one another. But I really don't know.
Yeah, this is something that I ask myself fairly often, because on one hand, I feel like I got I benefited a lot from growing up in church. But I also benefited a lot from questioning the things that I was being taught. So I'm thinking right now, as the person that I am today, that I would just really want to set my kids up with the basic knowledge of reading in between the lines. Not everything is going to be literal, especially if you're reading a works like the Bible or the Quran. A lot of that shit is written in riddles, right? So knowing how to decipher and apply and look at the basic things. Like, for me, I look at, when I try to understand something really complex, I compare it to something small that I know. So, like, the earth is complex because it's huge in size, but the human body is smaller, and it's something that I've learned about and something that I know. Well, whatever you put into your body, you'll see what fruits it bears, whether it's good health or bad health, right? Whatever you put in, whatever seeds you plant into the ground, you'll see. Like, did you put it in fertile soil, or did you put it in a dead spot? Like, is it gonna grow something or is it not? So that's how I'm gonna, or ideally, raise my kids. Like, just plant those seeds and let them figure it out, but guide them along the way. Like, that might not be the best path, but hey, if that's what you feel like is right for you, who am I to tell you it's not? You know what I mean?
That's so real that both of y'all say that, but especially you, Serena, bringing up the heaven or hell, because I never really questioned that my whole life until maybe a good year ago, right? So, like, my mom was 57 years old, but to take you completely back, she was always a wonderful person. Like, she would do anything for you. And when I mean anything, she will go to the ends of the earth. You needed clothes, she'd give it to you. You needed shelter, she'd give it to you. You need food, whatever, money. She did so many great deeds in her life. And so a couple of years ago, when like she was diagnosed with cancer, I started questioning everything. Like, okay, so let me get this right, God. This wonderful person who does so much good, you give them a terminal illness, and it doesn't seem like they're recovering anytime soon. And so I'm not saying it's always you do good, you get good, but that didn't make sense. So she transitioned in September of last year, and to be straight up, I was angry. I had so much, I couldn't even really grieve because I was just upset. Like, I'm supposed to serve or pray to a God that would take my like most prized possession, like my mom. I still feel so young at 29, and she was 57. She has so much more life to live.
Right.
And she needs to be right here, not just through spirit, through her physical presence. I need to be able to hug her, still hear her voice. So I was very angry. But one thing that really helped me as I started just paying attention to everything is how we're still always connected. And so even if her physical presence isn't here, it's her spirit. So when you say it, heaven or hell, who knows? But either way, a person's spirit, their soul is always going to live through you. Mm-hmm. And the way that you said that, Squeeze, in the way like, what are you planting? Are you planting in fertile soil? Are you planting into dead soil? Because she put so much in me, she's still very much there. And that's the one thing where I was able to stop the beef with God and was like, you know what? I got it. I hope she's up there in heaven enjoying my grandparents, having an amazing time, drinking. She don't drink, so maybe sparkling water, I don't know, ginger ale, something like that. But I definitely do believe that. How do y'all feel like spirituality is involved in like social media now? Because nowadays, a lot of people do readings, a lot of people have all types of numbers within their bio, and it's just like, okay, I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but I'm trying to figure out, are you really called? You know what I mean? Because there are certain people who I feel like have a certain anointing over their lives or whatnot, and they are connected,
Right.
You know what I mean, to God or higher power, however you want to put it. Like, what do y'all think when y'all see stuff like that on social media?
Can I just say, as someone who grew up with my mom burning sage and saint candles and that being a norm, it's a little annoying to see everyone saying, oh, I'm gonna light this sage or burn this sage, my Palo Santo, and it's like, do you even know? Or is this because it's, to me, I think right now people are just doing that because it looks good. And
or it's financial. They selling stuff. Yeah, it's selling stuff too.
And it's like, I grew up that being in a household and knowing that it's for the cleansing and for prayer and to really set you up, like setting whatever, because I do believe that there are good and bad spirits of people that have passed, and some are doing their time or spending their time on the physical earth, assisting and guiding in what you were saying about your mother. And then there's some that are, they're lost souls that are still just doing things. So you burn that to clear away those that have bad intentions.
Sure.
And so I think it's wild to see on social media, on TV, everyone's like, let me burn my sage. And it's like, it kind of like takes away from what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because I feel like people are being disingenuous about it. But that's just my take on that one.
No, that's an interesting point, because I've ran into that bad, because as the opposite, I didn't grow up with sage and stuff being burned in the house. I don't think my mom had anything against it, but like it was just, she just didn't necessarily do that. So when I was in a relationship with someone who was really into that, it took some adjusting to. And so even like one night, I think she started doing it while we was like, before we got into bed. And so I'm in the bed, And all of a sudden, my eyes start tingling a little bit and burning. I'm wondering in my head, like, what is this? And she was like, what, babe? I'm like, I don't know. It feels like it's, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I just lit some sage. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's what it is, right? That wasn't the issue. The issue was when maybe a week or so ago, when we had like a conflict and got in an argument. And she was like, yeah, that's why your eyes was hurting, because I was burning that sage. And I was like, oh, man. How about I'm just not used to it? Like, so I think it's just trying to understand. No, I'm telling you, true story. Like, but I'm just saying, trying to understand someone and get to know someone, you know, and just their beliefs and their teachings that they follow.
Yeah, social media plays a huge role in how people receive things. I definitely want to piggyback up off of you in regards to just people hopping on trends and not really knowing what they're doing.
Reviews and stuff.
That's dangerous too, by the way.
Even just for validation, I would say.
Attention.
Just, like, it's weird. It's kind of bittersweet, though, because a lot of the times there are positive things that are being publicized and everyone's hopping on that bandwagon, like therapy and the emotional intelligence of a black man. And it's like, these things were also great 30 years ago.
Hey.
But, you know, to each his own. I'm not going to knock down a good thing. But then how people are using these things to their benefit, you know, it sickens me a little bit. Just absorb it a little bit. Like the sage, the reading of the cards, the reading of people. You know what I mean?
Psychics.
Just, oh, yeah, you're
This type of person, because
you're a Gemini, so
this is exactly who you are.
You all heard about that still.
I had to bring that back up. That's the type of way. But no, those are the things, and it's like, even with the zodiac signs, there's so much that goes into that astrology shit. You know, it's like, oh, you're a Gemini, so you must be like this, and it's like, well, actually, if you look at my chart,
The whole thing.
the 30-page,
I'm talking about
You know
that
what I
thing
mean?
long, ain't it?
like, bro,
Yeah.
there's a lot more than just Gemini in there that will explain what you're seeing.
That's
you
a
know,
fact.
if you believe in that thing.
For
So,
sure. Yeah.
but yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
I agree.
definitely agree with you.
I think the consistency in what we can focus on is just saying you should respect everyone, regardless of what you believe in or what they believe in. Because at the end of the day, we're still just people, you know? And you should treat others right, regardless, you know? And so, like I always say on my production company, man, love more, laugh more, be kind. Can we get a cheers in here, please?
Yes, we
Yeah, this time I'm empty. This time I'm empty.
The wine.
Cheers.
Can't believe I'm almost 30. Always thought that by this time I'd just be buried, maybe married. Cause where I come from, the girl you choose decide your ceremony. Whether black or in white, it's up to her, so choose wisely. Or choose wisely. I'm so up right now, I'm living life.
On the jet, with the set, no overlays, we fly direct. Low on funds, I need some bread. Management, he's sitting that. Book the show, flip the bread. Thank you, Niz, replenished it. That's the biz, we finish it.
If it's life, we kill it. Going up.